This week in the business of tech, AWS services revenue per partner from Canalys, Rackspace's hosted exchange security incident, inflation starts coming down as SaaS pricing goes up, app and data overload, and Apple's new data protection offering. All these stories and more. Hit those like, subscribe, and the notification button, and help us pay the bills. And here are this week's stories. One of the numbers I love citing is the ratio of Microsoft's revenue to its service partners' revenue. That number is about $7 for every $1 of revenue. AWS has a number too, and it's $6.40 per AWS commissioned research from Canalys, quoting TechTarget. The Canalys report stated that expert-level partners can obtain this $6.40 multiplier. The company defined an expert partner as one that has the broadest set of service offerings and a large professional services organization. In contrast, partners that primarily resell AWS cloud products and offer limited additional services can expect to achieve a multiplier of 90 cents, according to Canalys. Partners that take this disciplined approach can find an economic return much greater than the 6-to-1 ratio Canalys identified. Why do we care? On a day I'm hosting a panel about cloud SaaS, which if you missed it is available on YouTube at youtube.com/MSPradio, highlighting the data about the ability to deliver services on top of the cloud felt prescient. Most important to me is that the number remains healthy. There is money to be made on top of the cloud, full stop. And if this number is indicative, AWS versus Microsoft isn't an issue. That's also good news. I don't typically cover breaches, yet this one is getting much buzz within the IT services community. Rackspace's hosted Microsoft Exchange services have been taken offline by a security incident, per the company's incident report. On Friday, December 2nd, we became aware of an issue impacting our hosted Exchange environment. We proactively powered down and disconnected the hosted Exchange environment while we triaged to understand the extent and the severity of the impact. After further analysis, we have determined that this is a security incident. Rackspace has offered impacted customers free access to Microsoft Exchange Plan 1 licenses on Microsoft 365 for the duration of the incident, and shared instructions on how to get that up and running. The instructions suggest the work to get IT running will take about 30 minutes to an hour. Why do we care? I wanted to talk about this because of the buzz. I saw the usual noise about this questioning the cloud. No, this isn't the cloud, it's simply continuity planning. Like car crashes and plane crashes, there are on-prem and in the cloud incidents. And like plane crashes, cloud ones get more coverage. They aren't different. Business needs to have a plan for downtime in either on-prem or cloud systems. Period. That's the story. I noted several product announcements last week for a quick lightning round. Amazon's reInvent was last week with 2 announcements I did want to note. The AWS supply chain is designed to help with the flow of components and goods, and AWS Cleanroom is for sharing proprietary data without giving partners access to the basic information. Advertising is considered the first market, with healthcare and financial services beyond that. AWS SimSpace Weaver is about building massive simulations for those interested in digital twins. Think SimCity, but massive. Microsoft announced Privilege Identity Management enabled Azure Lighthouse delegations. Lighthouse is focused on MSP usage, bringing further control over delegation. And Redstore, the cloud backup provider, launched a QuickBooks backup service for MSPs. Why do we care? AWS's offerings this year were pretty targeted, with releases at specific use cases. My colleague on Killing It, Ryan Morris, is rather focused on digital twins, and I couldn't help but notice the announcement due to that. Take his interest as a pointer. Lighthouse always perks my interest due to its MSP focus, so check that out if interested. Further adding SaaS backups is another area of interest, mainly due to that Rackspace story I just covered. The DHS's Cybersecurity Review Board will look into the Lapsus Data Extortion Group. You may remember this as the teen hacking group that breached Uber, Rockstar Games, Microsoft, Okta, and others. That announcement from the board. And while we're considering previous incidents, Tenable did some research on Log4j and said 72% of organizations remain vulnerable to the Log4Shell vulnerability as of October 1st, 2022, quoting Channel Life New Zealand. According to the data, some 28% of organizations across the globe have fully remediated Log4Shell as of October 1st, 2022, a 14-point improvement from May 2022. Moreover, 53% of organizations were vulnerable to Log4j during the time period of the study, which underscores the pervasive nature of Log4j and the necessary ongoing efforts to remediate, even if full remediation was previously achieved, Tenable says. As of October 2022, 29% of vulnerable assets saw the reintroduction of Log4Shell after full remediation was achieved. Some industries are in better shape than others, with engineering 45%, legal services 38%, financial services 35%, nonprofit 33%, and government 30% leading the pack, with the most organizations fully remediated. And to put this on your radar, The Guardian is reporting on the rise of cyber criminals in sub-Saharan Africa. Quote, experts attribute the surge in cybercrime in Africa to the rapid growth of internet use at a time when police forces and criminal justice systems have been weakened by the economic consequences of a series of major challenges. Why do we care? There are three observations to take away here. First, I'm thankful the new review board is digging into these cases to bring lessons back to the community. Those reports, like their airplane safety counterparts, will be helpful. Second, let's observe that cybercrime pays. It's why it's occurring. The conditions are countries with governments that either protect or don't have the resources to hunt these criminals, combined with internet connectivity. It won't be long until internet connectivity globally isn't a factor, so we care about geopolitics. And third, while patching is complex, defenders are not good at this. Those numbers aren't good, and nearly a third of instances seeing a reintroduction is damning. I wanted to highlight a data point I caught. The number of childcare workers is slowly ticking up, with 10,000 employees added over the past 2 months, but still is about 9% below pre-pandemic levels as employers struggle to hire. I'll lead into the confusion over hiring. Is tech doing layoffs or hiring? Seems the answer is yes. CIO Dive highlights the growth in the sector as reported by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, combined with the specific headlines of tech layoffs. The conclusion? Much of this churn is resulting in returns to employment levels from the beginning of 2020. A key quote: if I were a CIO at a retail or industrial company, I would see this as a good time to pick up some talent who have experience building and doing technology at a really cool company in the technology space. Because I saw another related piece over in NextGov highlighting how defense contractors and government agencies themselves could capitalize on the opportunity. Why do we care? Here's why we care about that childcare data, quoting from Axios. U.S. labor force participation fell for the third straight month in November. One possible reason is that parents have trouble finding someone to look after their children. The shortage also helps push older workers out of the labor force as some pitch in to help watch grandchildren at home. As an employer, keep an eye more on the problems with hiring that our concern-specific companies are adjusting to. If the tech hiring changes are reset to 2020, that's not a bad place to end up. Further evidence that it's noise to ignore and instead focus on the opportunities presented by those other leaders' miscalculations. So let's talk about inflation and the market. First, the Washington Post with some good news on the consumer front. They're reporting moderation in inflation. Quote, in October, the Federal Reserve's preferred price gauge, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, posted its smallest monthly increase since September of last year and is up 6% over the past 12 months. The better-known Consumer Price Index is rising at an annual rate of 7.7%, down from 9.1% in June. End quote. That is resulting in drops or leveling in the prices of gasoline, retail inventory, rent, car prices, and chicken wings. CNBC notes that United Airlines is reporting business travel demand has plateaued, but revenue continues to rise thanks to strong demand and capacity constraints. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, CEO confidence is dropping, although not to a level as glum as previous recessions. The latest CEO Economic Outlook Index from the Business Roundtable declined 11 points, continuing the steady slide that has happened every quarter this year. However, what's worse than inflation? SaaS pricing. Some new data from SaaS purchasing management platform Veritas. SaaS pricing inflation is growing 4 times faster than global inflation. Moreover, the survey found that customers put 53% more toward licensing than they were 5 years ago, with $1 in every 8 that enterprise spend today going into SaaS products. From the report, a growing percentage of all business expenditures goes to SaaS, with around 12.7% of total spending now used on software investments. That means 1 in every $8 that modern organizations spend is now dedicated to SaaS. To translate that into dollars, as of 2022, companies spend around $3,112 per employee each year on SaaS. This figure rises to $4,552 for technology companies, which spend more than firms in any other category. Why do we care? It's tempting to think good or bad as we consider the environment we're doing and will do business in. It's far more subtle than that. Wouldn't be any fun if it were easy. In particular, as the more challenging times look less extreme than the worst case, it's a maze. Plan for a turbulent 12 months, and likely not a crash landing. However, let's note the increase in pricing for SaaS. This is a thing to manage for customers both technically and financially. It's also clearly the direction of forward spending and why I spend so much time thinking about it. I hope you are too.
Do you like getting paid? Then make it easy for your customers with Gozynta Payments. Do you teach your customers not to click on links from strange domains like mymsp.monkeypayments.com or slowbooks.com? Gozynta Payments uses your branding and domain name. No redirects, no confusion. Gozynta Mobius is trusted by over 1,000 MSPs to sync financial data. Their new product, Gozynta Payments, is built with the same care and empathy to make the payment process easy for your customers. Gozynta is a family-owned business dedicated to making software suck less each day. Go to gozynta.com/payments to learn more or get started.
Follow-up to Monday, that outage at Rackspace has now been confirmed as a ransomware attack. Rackspace says that the investigation, led by a cyber defense firm and its own internal security team, is in its early stages with no info on, quote, what, if any, data was affected. The cloud service provider says it will notify customers if it finds evidence that the attackers gained access to their sensitive information. And from the record, quote, cybersecurity expert Kevin Beaumont examined evidence from the incident and said the attack may have been caused by hackers exploiting Proxy.Not Shell, a dangerous set of vulnerabilities affecting Exchange server software. Rackspace said in an SEC filing Tuesday that the attack may result in a loss of revenue for its $30 million of hosted Exchange business and other incremental costs. Why do we care? As this saga continues, it's simply reinforcing my comments from Monday. Rackspace wasn't ready for an incident, but more importantly, while the analysts are observing how many SMBs are impacted, those same SMBs were also not prepared, and that's why we care. Go get them ready. Apple's self-service repair program launched yesterday in Europe. Spare parts are available via Apple's self-service repair store, which features a drop-down menu in the top right to select the correct country. Why do we care? A quick story to note how progress on the right to repair marches on. Managed services sales are going up, say the majority of European business leaders, per a report from TD Synnex in collaboration with Canalys. Professional services are expected to increase for 65% of respondents, followed by consumption-based anything as a service, 50%, packaged services, 44%, and product lifestyle services at 38%. Most European partners, at 63%, also forecasted that hardware resale would be fundamental to their business mix, with 25% saying the category will increase and 38% indicating no change. It found that every type of service is expected to grow, with managed services top of the pile at 74%. Why do we care? Maybe I'm having too much fun making heads or tails of the trends, or it's just whiplash from different insights. I'm not going to dwell on the positivity here and instead focus on the increase in professional services. I've seen more and more value from providers delivered in their unique service offerings versus their packaged solutions, and I want to highlight this increase. Delivering value via key professional services in the productivity layer is where it's at. And pulling from CIO Dive, quote, application overload is an ongoing enterprise problem, with the average large business using 367 software apps and systems to get work done, according to a Forrester consulting study commissioned by Airtable. Workers are spending nearly 1/3 of their work week, or 2.4 hours a day, to find the data and information required to do their jobs effectively. Forrester surveyed more than 1,000 workers in September for this study. Let's couple that with a new HPE study, with over 60% of respondents saying it was strategically important for their organizations to control their data and the means to create value from data. The average ability to create value from data was only 2.6 on a 5-point scale, with only 3% reaching the highest maturity level. The survey is based on a maturity model HPE developed that assesses an organization's ability to create value from data based on strategic, organizational, and technological criteria. Quote, there are 5 levels of response, Dr. Eng Lim Gaw said. At the highest level, data economics data strategy is part of corporate strategy, with real-time data push and pull that uses AI and advanced analytics to drive outcomes. Only 3% of organizations met this criteria today. On the other hand, the lowest level, which we call data anarchy, has each silo doing its own thing, with no data strategy at a corporate level. 14% of organizations are at that lowest level of maturity, level 1. Why do we care? So we have more applications than we know what to do with, and organizations can't handle their data load. Love it! It's all a messy opportunity to clean up. More is not necessarily better for the customer. Having too much data or too many apps is a problem, not a solution. Offering techniques to solve this and reduce complexity is extracting the value. Here's an interesting warning. Recruiters and employers are starting to warn applicants against getting too many cybersecurity training certifications. This coming from reporting in Axios. Quoting the piece, cybersecurity training certifications aim to show specialized knowledge in everything from securing enterprise networks to the basics of responding to a cyber incident, and entry-level candidates can be swayed into getting as many as possible to appear more employable. But those trainings are costly, and many managers don't see any value in having an alphabet soup of credentials. Why do we care? Certifications for certification's sake is a clear message to employees. The goal is the collection of skills and experience that can be validated by certification. Certification can be used as a credential to acquire a new role, too, but there are diminishing returns when they are collected like trophies. Deliver this message to your team and help them balance. I dug into some legal technology data last week. I found another round of it, so let's take a look. On budget, 65% of firms responded, yes, my firm has a budget for technology. 56% of small firms with 2 to 9 attorneys increased their technology budget for 2022 compared to 50% in 2021. Firms of 10 to 49 attorneys decreased their budget over the last few years with 65%, compared with 69% in 2021, 78% in 2020, and 71% in 2019. Respondents were asked to prioritize their firm's top technology spending over the next 12 months. For the largest percentage of respondents, hardware was chosen for the office as their top technology spending priority at 28%, followed by security, 20%, mobile technology, 11%, and litigation technology, 10%. Respondents were asked how comfortable, in general, they felt using their firm's available technology. Overall, 56% report feeling very comfortable, and 34% feel somewhat comfortable with their law firm's technology. The smaller the firm, the more comfortable the attorneys were with their technology. 62% of attorneys at firms with 2 to 9 attorneys and 55% of firms with 10 to 49 attorneys feel comfortable using their legal technology. Training can be expensive and part of a firm's budget because 64% of firms with 2 to 9 attorneys and 79% of firms with 10 to 49 attorneys report having training available at their firms. 40% of medium-sized firms with 10 to 49 attorneys first turn to it, but only 16% of small firms turn to IT for support. When asked, where do you turn first when you have a problem with your firm's technology, 25% of respondents from firms with 2 to 9 attorneys first turn to Google or another non-legal online resource. Something interesting in the technology basics and security volume is that respondents from firms of 10 to 49 attorneys are most likely to have cyber liability insurance at 56%, followed by 42% from firms of 2 to 9 attorneys. Why do we care? I wanted to note how specific hardware still ranks high for customers. It's an interesting disconnect with the trends often reported in spending. The bigger area to care about is the need for training. There's some direction here. Those slightly larger firms will be more ready to spend money on training. That said, there's an education component to note for Google, meaning customers will be looking for solutions to problems by searching for them. Those that do content marketing will be rewarded for their efforts. Adding some significant add-ons to their data protection, Apple launched end-to-end encryption for iCloud backups. Called Advanced Data Protection, Apple will expand the number of data categories protected by end-to-end encryption from 14 to 23, with backups, notes, and photos now covered. Data that's end-to-end encrypted can only be encrypted, quote, on your trusted devices where you're signed in with your Apple ID, according to Apple, meaning that the company, or law enforcement or hackers, cannot access your data from Apple's databases. Rolled out in beta this week, it will be available broadly to US users by the end of the year and globally next year. The company also announced the ability to verify the sender's identity on the other side of an iMessage and alert if a threat actor intercepts the message, and secure Apple IDs with a physical security key. Finally, in response to pushback over perceived restrictions in China, the company is changing the settings of all users using AirDrop, where the setting will be reverted to contacts only after 10 minutes to prevent unwanted requests to receive content. Why do we care? End-to-end encrypting is not the holy grail of security, and simultaneously is a critical element of privacy. More importantly, it's additional user complexity. There will be more lost backups in the future for a lack of management here. A useful tool in the toolkit, however. Remember JEDI? That was the $10 billion contract the Pentagon awarded to Microsoft. Amazon challenged, and it was canceled. The DoD then launched the Joint Warfighting Cloud capability as a replacement contract. And the winner has been announced. Drumroll, please. It's all four: Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Oracle. The DoD is electing to split the work, awarding up to $9 billion across the contracts. Quote, no funds will be obligated at the time of award. Funds will be obligated on individual orders as they are issued, the department said in a statement. Why do we care? Nobody wins. Is it an improvement to award work as individual orders are needed? Maybe. Certainly seems like a positive development. There's undoubtedly logic here to say right tool for the right job and order what you need.
Thanks for your time and attention. Time is a finite resource, and I really value you giving me some of yours. If you like this video, you can let me know with a like of the video, and even more valuable, hitting the subscription button. My content is all free, and I use metrics like subscriptions to pay the bills, so it has real value. The content here is produced under ethics guidelines posted at businessof.tech. If you're interested in more content like this, you can get access to content early via our Patreon at patreon.com/MSPradio. It's our give what you want model where you set the value of what you think the content is worth. If you like this podcast, you can catch it daily as the 5-minute news and commentary show, The Business of Tech, available on all your favorite podcatchers with links at businessof.tech. Just hit that big blue button to subscribe. Again, thank you for taking time out of your day to listen, and I really value the interaction. If you want to say something in the comments, I do respond and watch all that, and I look forward to talking to you next time.